Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at gcnlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked. Here we go. You're dialed so correctly to USA Prepares. We are delighted you're with us today. We broadcast 2 hours, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. through 11 a.m. Central Time, right here on GCN. I'm Vincent Finelli. Doc Ram's with us, Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Welcome, Rick.
Good morning, Vincent. Could you give me just a quarter more volume, please?
Here's an eighth. Here's 3/16. Here's a quarter. How about that?
How about a little bit more? Sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, it's great to hear your voice, Rick.
Thank you. It's great to know I have a voice still.
Hey, would you mind if we talk about something that's really bothering me? I see a societal change, and it's really bothering me. Would that be okay if we start with that?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're in charge.
Okay. So, yesterday, I was in Springfield, Missouri. You know, left the farm after I got some farm chores done and headed out to the big city. And that's like an hour trip each way, there and back. And I've talked about this before. I've noticed more and more careless drivers, more and more drivers cutting me off. And the saying that I've come up with, and this has been going on for well over a year now, is, does everybody have to cut me off? Okay? They look at me coming, they wait until it's dangerous, then they pull out in front of me. Well, I've noticed something else. I was in Sam's Club yesterday, and this societal change where drivers have become more me first, have become more careless, have become more me now. I'm the most important person. I mean, that's how people are driving right now. Well, it extends inside the big box stores and the supermarkets. So I was in Sam's Club yesterday, and I noticed a phenomenon that I've observed before, but it really hit home. So Mrs. Finelli and I were pushing our cart, and we only had a couple items that we wanted to pick up. And so we're going to turn down one of these aisles, but there in the middle of this very wide aisle was this gal who was just kind of looking around, totally oblivious to everything that's happening around her. Middle-aged gal. She's got her shopping cart in the middle of the aisle, blocking it completely. So anybody coming behind her wouldn't be able to get through unless she moved. Anybody coming from our direction toward her would be, her cart was in the way. So we said, forget that aisle. Let's go down another aisle because we wanted to get through Sam's Club quickly and move on. Well, went to the next aisle, same thing. Another gal, totally oblivious to everything that's happening around, blocking the aisle. And it's not just that. You go into the parking lot, and the latest phenomenon, and this has been going on for years, but it's gotten worse, is, that cart return is just too far away. So people just leave their carts wherever. And then the wind blows, and the carts go sailing across the parking lot, and they slam into cars and damage the sides of vehicles. People are just careless, oblivious. They're not thinking. They're talking on their cell phones. They're texting. They're doing everything else but what they are supposed to be doing at the moment, which is paying attention. They're crossing the walkways on their phones, not paying attention to cars, traveling through the parking lots. They're oblivious. They're not paying attention to the children. They're not paying attention to the party that they're with. They are oblivious to everything that's going on for the most part. And I'm seeing more and more of it. So what I'm saying is I think that this damage to society has originated with the cell phones, the distraction. Why is it so important to talk to someone when you're going shopping? I remember going shopping with my mom to the supermarket back in the 1960s, and of course, we didn't have a cell phone. I would talk to my mom. She would describe what we were going to do. She was in charge. I was a child. You know, it was a nice family experience. Now, the cell phone is putting up a wall between the children, the rest of the family, everybody else from that person on the cell phone. And I resent it, and I hate it, and I look at Tim Cook of Apple with disgust. You know, some people say, gosh, what a wonderful guy he is. You know, even though he's, light loafered. It's so wonderful they've got these innovative products. But these products are destroying the family and society. Rick, your thoughts?
Of course, it's not about the moment anymore. It's a, sacred place of being in the moment. It's been distractions and preoccupations. And that's because our reality is in a process of massive change. And as a result, some people are resisting it by going into la-la land. Either that or they are aggressively trying to get in front of it. And it's a behavior that is belies what is about to happen. By the way, Cliff High just put out an exceptional video on what he models is happening with the Earth. And you and J.C. Cole, others, Matt Stein, are correct in terms of the Earth is now expanding in mass, literally increasing in mass. And as a result, there's orbital changes, there's groaning, and there will be a day after tomorrow. We are about to go into all the signs suggest an ice age. And as such, people are afraid and or uncertain. And as such, from that point of view, like money, everybody's uptight because there's this uncertainty. And the two phenomena that you're talking about, la-la, where they're not in their bodies at that moment, they're somewhere else, and or fighting to not be in that moment by being ahead of it, is symptomatic of what's going on in the Earth. There's another problem. The 5G tower movement is now wanting to talk about new organs in your body that are refueled or recharged using 5G. And this is a plan to make 5G part of your daily living experience, charging your batteries to charging your pacemaker. And I'm extremely concerned because it is an end game weapon of choice that has been beta tested down to the point where now they have refined it. There was a recent article, I think Joey sent it to me, regarding the individual that lived next to a school, and he went a normal person, and he proclaimed that he was hearing voices in his head about using his pistol on campus. And they, rather than try to get to the bottom of what that might suggest, arrested him and have put him in confinement as a potential hazard to himself. Because, of course, hearing voices in your head is obviously schizophrenia. Now, how is it that is la-la land and or we're going to preempt his rights and put him in jail for his own protection? There is another metaphor in a larger scale looking at what you are describing in driving on the streets. Now, I remember when they used to say that driving was a privilege. And when that was considered not a right, a privilege. And you had to prove your rights to accept that privilege by going through driver's courses and having someone examine you, just like you do with carrying a concealed weapons permit. And the whole thing, again, is a larger picture. And by the way, that turning your knobs didn't change the volume, so I'm not sure what the problem is, possibly at my end. I don't know. I just thought I'd mention to you, I'm having difficulty hearing you because of, I don't know why. And it has been, by the way, yeah, that's better. I just could tell even that right nose, that was a little louder. I have no idea what it all means, but I'm noticing the pattern. I'm noticing myself looking at shadows, at everything, jumping to conclusions, and even in inputs to belie that conclusion, still not believing it. And why? Because that's what I did for the military, and there's something else going on out here, and I can't put my finger on it. And if I can't do it, I can well imagine what the rest of the population must be going through. It's not cool. By the way, thank you to J. Paulette Sawyer and that very nice email she sent to both you and me. I thought that was a very lovely thumbnail, and thought I should mention that as well. I am extremely heartened by the responses I'm getting from people like you listening right now. It makes me feel as if it's worthwhile for me to continue. I am at the end of my ropes, just like Vincent is describing, and I don't know why. But I do know that survival is creeping right now. And I have more than 40 exceptional manuscripts ready to go to press, and I have absolutely no way to do that. And every single thing I've ever written has nailed it right on the head as a classic, and I'm offering a 10% return off of first sales, plus honorable mention in the book, dedication, whatever, to make that manuscript happen. And at this juncture, I am being stripped summarily of everything. And I don't understand, but there is absolutely no question.
Hold that thought, Rick.
Okay.
Doc Ram's with us. Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Website, DOC, as in Dr. RAM, as in Richard Allen Miller.com. DocRam.com. So, Rick, we've been talking about 5G and the dangers, and yeah, it's coming out. It's coming out how dangerous it is. It's a carcinogen. It's very, very concerning to all of us who are listening. It seems like we can't stop it, and without the measures that we would have to take to stop it would be very, very drastic. And so I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think the measures are going to happen. I think there's going to be a 5G rollout, and there's no escape. No escape because no escape from electromagnetic radiation, electromagnetic fields, and radio frequencies because of the satellites. And we're looking at, our government corporation is looking at deploying more and more satellites for more and more communications. And other countries are looking at countering measures that we may be putting in space, so they're going to put theirs in. And there's so many problems with all this because our atmosphere is littered with junk. And it all falls down. All of it falls down. Now, some of it's candy wrappers and gum and urine and things like that. But other objects are large, school bus size objects, and they don't burn up completely on the way down. And so what goes up comes down for the most part. That's a problem. The problem with electromagnetic fields is another problem. And there's no escape because we are being bathed in it from above satellites. We're being bathed in it from above television transmission towers. We're being bathed in it from radio towers. We're being bathed in it from cell towers, which are multiplying like rabbits. It's out of control, and I don't see any escape except the only thing you can do is minimize your exposure by moving away from where there are lots of people. Your thoughts?
The problem with that, moving away, that's why I go into the woods, is to get away from technology. I renew myself, the green, just quietness of the woods. But now the University of Pennsylvania, for example, is outlawing hiking because of poor cell phone coverage. That's a fact. Now, that's nuts. That's the very purpose for going back into nature, is to get away from the city, and as a metaphor. And now, because it's not safe to go hiking where there's poor cell phone coverage, is a literal University of Pennsylvania statement. What's wrong with that statement? Why was it okay for my grandfather to be able to do that, but not me? What changed? Well, one way of metaphoring that is the difference between George Washington and George Bush. And the difference of America in George Washington's time to the America of George Bush. Now, governments are supposed to be at the discretion of the individuals who vote for it, as a privilege for the government to have certain only actions and nothing more, rather than the government controlling the individual. And there's been a change between George Washington and George Bush, and the metaphor of why we do what we do on a daily basis. And that's why you have distractions and preoccupation.
So I was thinking about what you were just saying, Rick. It's not safe to go in the woods without a cell phone. Well, because cell phone coverage. Cell phone coverage.
That's crazy.
What about personal responsibility? What about making sure that you're prepared? I was looking at Roseanne Barr, and she's quite distraught because she got fired from ABC. And there's collateral damage. The people who are the cast with her, they all lost their jobs. And so what is she dressed like? She is dressed like a slob. She looks like she's wearing a tent, a used tent, or a used drop cloth with a hole cut in the top for her head and 2 holes for her arms, and flip-flops. I mean, who wants to follow that example? Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us, richardallenmiller.com, Richard, A-L-A-N, Miller.com. Rick, I mentioned flip-flops, and Roseanne Barr was wearing them at the same time she had her tent on, for, her new styled outfit from Omar, the tent maker. And at least that's what it looked like to me. And she was wearing flip-flops, and I just want to make this one point, and I'd love to hear your response. I will not get in a car or truck with anyone driving wearing flip-flops. I won't do it. I won't get into a vehicle with anyone wearing loose-fitting shoes because I don't think that it's safe to step on the accelerator or the brake and or the clutch wearing shoes that are loose-fitting, like flip-flops. And I don't want to be stranded should we have a mechanical problem with the vehicle and have to walk and have to carry someone who's wearing flip-flops because they're irresponsible in their footwear. Any comments on that?
Well, it's symptomatic, again, of the distraction and preoccupation. It came out of California as a metaphor on the West Coast of casualness, of being casual. You go to Canada, and anybody that goes into public takes care of their personal appearance. It's a change in values. And Walmart, they even have comedy on, look what I found at Walmart. Now I have a picture of some woman with her pants half down her legs with a crack showing. It's symptomatic of personal hygiene, of casual carelessness of who cares, and I'm just going to be comfortable and wear my urban bandana over my hair for the day because I don't want to put it up and I don't want to clean it, so I'll just cover it. And flip-flops are not casual. They're dangerous, and one of the reasons I don't wear them because I've tripped on them, I've fallen on them, I have misstepped on gasoline pedals with them, and the rest of it as they get sloppier with my careless distractions and preoccupations. Those are the two key words I'm going to use today, because that's what I see is symptomatic of the loss of trust in everything.
Okay.
How's that for a summation? Silence.
No, it's difficult for me.
It pretty much ties up the whole thing in a nice big bow. We're losing it. We're losing it in every single corner of our importance.
Okay. Those gals that I was talking about at the big box store who parked their shopping carts in the middle of the aisle, totally distracted, preoccupied with something other than why they're at that store shopping.
They're not
typically
caring about people around them or their environment. They're not thinking about that.
Right. They typically wear flip-flops. So that casual look, that dressed-down look, that I don't care look, that I'm too lazy to tie sneaker laces or shoelaces or put on, real shoes, is symptomatic of carelessness and recklessness. We had a guy who would come to the meetups for a couple of years. He was an employee of the university. And this guy would show up in shorts and sandals. And I'd look at this guy and I'd say, I can't believe it. I can't believe you're here at a preparedness meeting and you're wearing sandals, like Roman sandals. They might be, exotic sandals. Maybe he's trying to impress us or something. To me, it was quite careless. And the things that kept running through my mind over and over and over again, watching this grown-up man who is at, a mid-level university employee, okay, someone who is very intelligent. My response in my mind was, so if this guy has a fan belt that quits, if he has a flat tire and he's got to hoof it somewhere, how's that going to work? Or if it rains on the way, it doesn't rain on the way in, but it rains on the way home, and he has an emergency or he wants to get gas, how's that going to work? He's going to be standing in water. It makes no sense. What about diseases? What about parasites that you pick up through your feet? Why would somebody wear flip-flops or sandals? It makes no sense. No sense at all to me. And literally, I have a very hard time respecting people whom I see today wearing flip-flops. They cut their lawn in it. Does that make any sense? You've got a rotary mower with a blade spinning at around 3,600 RPM wearing flip-flops? Does that make any sense at all? Not to me. Not to me. And it's hard to follow that lead. I won't follow that lead. And literally, I won't get in a car with someone wearing flip-flops. If they say, okay, we'll hop in my car, generally I don't want to do that in the first place. But if they say, okay, let's hop in my car and they're wearing flip-flops, there's a 100% certainty that I'm going to say, tell you what, I'll follow you in my car. Or let's take my car and I'll drive. I don't want to be subjected to other people's carelessness and recklessness and preoccupation. And the last thing I want to do is get in the car with somebody behind the wheel and them getting on their phone. I don't want that to happen. And I do everything I can to prevent it. That's why I drive myself pretty much everywhere. I don't even want to be in an airplane, Rick.
I know, it's what's going on in our world today, and the way people are, wakey, that's the way Crocodile Dundee put it.
Well, how's it going to get any better with 5G? How's it going to make it any better?
Well, it's a type of laziness of not wanting to charge your battery, to have it be charged while you're on the go, on the fly. Convenience? I don't think so.
All right, let's talk about
that way at first glance, Oh, wow. You mean I don't have to plug it in at night?
Yeah, you're talking about wireless charging?
Yeah,
That's beyond nuts.
Yeah, that's one of the big deals on 5G. You can power on the go.
Yeah, so I can. All right, so let's just give a visual example as best we can on the radio about 5G. All right, so we're talking about wireless charging at this point. And so you don't have to have that 2.5-foot cord to your cell phone or your device. It just charges through the air. Currently, if you can get 10%, which is an enormous amount, of the energy that is transmitted to end up at that device charging it, that's a record. It's a miracle. So at least 90% of the energy that is being transmitted is going to other places other than that device, that cell phone that's in that room, which means that you're probably with your cell phone. So you're getting that energy as well. It's not data, it's raw power. And that energy is going to cause medical problems. No question in my mind. No question. And in offices and hospitals and in where you go and you walk up to the counter and you say, "Hey, I'm here. I'd like to buy," or "I'm here. I'd like to register," or "I'm here for my appointment." And you talk to one of those people that's sitting at a computer screen and all this wireless electromagnetic radiation you're bathing in it. It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. So how do you get around it? Well, you can't get around it if you go to a doctor's office. It's impossible. It's impossible. If you're in a hospital room, they have telemetry. It's impossible to get around it. It's there. You're bathing in it. And now we're talking about adding more. We don't have enough. It's not enough to have these cell towers outside every couple of miles. Now we want to have them every couple of 100 feet.
No, they want them on every single house.
Well, yeah, I understand.
Forget about that smart meter part of it. The whole thing is nuts, and they're going to charge you for not participating. How's that one work?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We used to have I don't remember exactly what it was, but let's say at one time, well, I know this for a fact. I've looked at my grandparents' electric bill, like $7 a month. $7. S-E-V-E-N, $7 a month for electricity. And back in the 1950s, that era of the electric bill I'm talking about, Isaac Asimov was one of my instructors. I was very fortunate to have him. And he was talking about how, electricity is going to be almost free. Almost free. It's going to be everywhere. And it's going to be powered by the atom, nuclear power. It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be almost free. You're going to run your houses on it. We'll have all kinds of appliances, and it's going to be almost free. Well, I called the electric company in Missouri, the one that is in our neck of the woods, and I asked what the average electric bill is. Well, it's about $300 to $400. So that almost free electricity that started out at $7 and was going to go down from $7 is now $300 to $400. Okay, that's with nuclear power. That's one of the things that more electricity has done. Our electric consumption in the United States has gone up and up and up. It doesn't go down. We keep using more and more and more. And you got to ask yourself, what happened to this paperless society that we talked about in the 1970s? Paperless society was coming. We're using more paper than ever before, and we have more computers, and we're using more electricity than ever before. And we're dependent on the electron. One more example. So I wanted to I've got this baler, and I bought it used. It's like a $30,000 baler. I got it for pennies on the dollar. Nobody wanted it, just me. And I need a manual for it. Well, okay, so I get on the internet and I look. $63 for a pamphlet-type manual. Not even stapled. Just it's got holes in it. Bring your own binder for this manual. $63 for I don't know, maybe it's 50 pieces of paper. Maybe it's 30. $63. Okay, well, if you want the shop manual for this baler, it's $180. $180. What we're talking about is we are preventing people from doing things by keeping the information out of their hands. $63 for... When I talk about a manual, I'm talking about an operator's manual. How to use it, not how to fix it. If you want to learn how to fix it, That's $180. Prices are going up, information is being withheld, and we're becoming dumber because we're letting machines do our work like smart. Doc Graham's with us. No, Rick, you and I have been talking about an observation that we've had for years. That observation is the trees are dying. We talked about it in the last couple of weeks again. And, I look out and I see what used to be trees that were vibrant and healthy, and they're dying. The limbs are falling off. The trees are dying and falling over. It used to be 13 years ago here on the farm in Missouri that we could pick up some limbs, cut them up with a chainsaw, and use them for fuel. And we had to find enough. We didn't want to cut trees, living trees down. So we would, scour the farm, go in the woods, bring a front-end loader, load up the, front-end bucket with lots of limbs and dead wood, and cut it into sizes that would fit in our outdoor wood furnace so we could heat our domestic hot water from debris, if you will. Well, there's no shortage of wood anymore. Trees are falling down faster than we would want them to, and there's way more firewood than we had before. How's that possible? Well, it's because of what is killing these trees. So I read an article, and it's on dailymail.co.uk. Headline, pollution is killing off our trees. Toxic air causes malnutrition by harming the fungi in the roots. Trees across the country and Europe have recently shown the signs of illness. Now, I'm telling you, it's way before recently. Okay, symptoms include both discoloration and sparse growth of the leaves. Air pollution causes malnutrition by harming the beneficial fungi in the roots. So they show pictures in Europe of these trees, and it looks like it's the wintertime, but it's not. You can see the grasses are trying to grow underneath. The undercover is trying to grow, below the trees, but the trees look sick. And that's what we see here in Missouri. And that's what you've indicated that you see in your neck of the woods, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it doesn't look like, Rick, you're going to be able to fix it and I'm going to be able to fix it because the problem is global, yes?
The problem is asymptomatic of something much, much worse. And it's not a bad thing because everything changes. And that's what's happening right now is that the Earth is going through some serious cycles of change. And it's predictable. There it is in ice samples. It happened before. It's happening again.
Okay,
what am I referring to? The end of days? No. The beginning of something new. The ending of old and the beginning of new. And with it comes an opportunity to erase this nonsense of fracking by Rothschilds. Kilauea is going to continue, and it is going to create a tsunami. That is a fact. It's going to affect the West Coast. That is a fact. The Midwest is going through a change right now with the cracking in the earth, and with it comes the New Madrid fault line that is going to erupt. And when it does, the Midwest, according to my military maps, states that as a forbidden zone because of nuclear radiation from different reactors on the New Madrid fault line that were not turned off and cleaned up. Because these earth changes are going to happen, there's going to be collateral damage. Man is going to survive. It's not going to be a 1,000-foot wall of wave. It'll be more likely 60 feet. But that's enough to do it to everybody.
Rick, when we come back, can you tell us where would be a better place to live than many of us are living It doesn't look like it's going to be New York City, Boston, Los Angeles, Chicago.
Well, what happens if we have a pandemic and it doesn't matter? I mean, pick one.
Right. So during the top of the hour news commercial announcements, can you think about where would be a better place to live? Because I don't know. I really don't know. I thought this place was okay right here in Missouri. Doc Graham and I will be right back. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Doc Graham's with us. Dr. Richard Allen Miller, TOCRAM.com. Also, Richard ALAN Miller.com. Rick, I asked about, where's a better place to live. So I'm looking at a map of nuclear reactor sites in the United States. And let me just read off the states that have them. Now, class, all of us are downwind from a nuclear reactor. So if the winds happen to blow from the west to the east, which they have for millennia, and if they continue to blow, we're all downwind. So we're the reactors? Well, Washington State. California. Now, there are multiple reactors in some of these states, but I'll just name the states that have nuclear reactors that are operating right now. Washington, California, Arizona, Texas, Kansas, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, New York, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Indiana, Illinois. Those are states where we have nuclear reactors. Now, I might have missed, I'm looking at a tiny map, and it's kind of hard to see it, but that's what I've seen. And I might have missed a few, but it's hard to get away from nuclear reactors, Rick.
It's asymptomatic of something much, much worse going on. And I, have an argument that I think we've been invaded. And they're terraforming us right in front of our eyes.
You mean politicians? I really think that they're a different species.
Well, the black goo, there it is. That's what you should call a politician now. Black goo. That's a good nickname.
It's polite.
Well, it's not as rude as what I'd like to call them. But everything is broken because our trust in everything has been broken.
All right. Let's talk about that too.
I'm sorry?
Let's talk about the trust that's been broken in a very simple discussion with the Native American reservations. We're talking about nuclear power, and we're still on the topic of where would it be safer to live. Okay, so here's what the U.S. government corporation has done. Here is a list of Native American reservations and trust lands within a 50-mile radius of a nuclear power plant. Ready? Arizona, Connecticut, Florida, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nebraska, New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. Those are states that have Native American reservations and trust lands within a 50-mile radius of a nuclear power plant. So, we kick the Indians off their land, and we said, tell you what, we're going to give you your own land. They already had their own land. We stole all the rest, and then we stuck them near nuclear power plants within a 50-mile radius. Wow. That's pretty nice. That's what the U.S. government does. So if you think they're your friends, ask an Indian. Ask an Indian if you can trust them, the government corporations. Rick, so is there a safer place to live than Missouri?
It's pick your poison. If you're talking about a pandemic, which is PBS, everywhere. If you're talking about, can you imagine a forest fire around Chernobyl or Fukushima?
They've got one going on. There's one right now.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's in the air, and you're breathing it. And you have 3 minutes for air, 3 days for water, and 3 weeks for food. What's important? And your priorities. And when you look at it from a scientist's point of view, you're probably safest where you are right now, because it will be your neighbor that saves your life. And that's most likely the most accurate position I can state right now. If you want to read about it, The Earthquake Generation is an exceptional book that talks about the different zones and what they offer and their disadvantages. That's an excellent older book manuscript that was written during We Are the Earthquake Generation. Now, California's toast. By any standards, with Kilauea currently active as it is, California is toast. There isn't any place in California that would be deemed safe by anybody's reasoning. And yet, I don't understand why there isn't more active outcry on what's going on and why. Now, Kilauea is because of, Cliff High did a report, a radio thing that I think was exceptional. And that was this last week. It's a 2-hour, talks about everything, including the giants in Antarctica. But I appreciated his views on the fact that the Earth is expanding. It's gaining in mass because of a solar minimum that's going on right now, and the debris trail that the Earth, most people would think that the Earth is circling the sun. It's not. The Earth is being dragged behind a comet called our sun, and the debris trail that our sun is now displaying with all these different kinds of creepy particles that are being absorbed by the center of our Earth because it's a plasma. And as such, everything in our universe is electric, not nuclear. The sun is not about nuclear reaction. It's about an electric reaction. And there is models on this that will allow us to understand why the Earth is expanding, because it's gaining mass. The Earth today is 60% larger than it was in a previous epoch when we talk about Noah's flood. And that is absolutely confirmed in scientific evidence that has to do with ice core and looking at what was going on and why. But nobody's talking about that. Well, that's not true. Cliff High is, I am, others, but nobody is paying attention to what is actually physically happening to our Earth. And we talk about Paul ships and tsunamis and the rest of it, and we're missing the bigger picture. And the fact is, we've been here before. It is happening again right now. That's why you chose to be here now, to witness this part of change. So, from a metaphorical point of view, what is it that you don't understand? Everybody gets exactly what I'm saying. Why it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for change, and right now you have choices. And your attitude is the only thing that's going to carry the day.
Rick, yesterday there was a news report. Storms This is CBS local. Okay, so this would be considered dinosaur news, mainstream. Storms drop baseball-sized hail on North Texas. Shattering windows.
In the middle of summer.
Sounded like, right. Well, that's another thing I want to talk to you about. Summer. What the heck happened to spring?
Global warming? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Let me share an on-the-ground observation with our class. We are, if people ask us, what do we do? I guess we might say we raise cows. Actually, we're grass farmers. We grow grass, then the cows eat the grass, and then we sell the cows. We're cutting hay now, and we're helping our neighbors cut their hay. The hay crop, we've cut the same fields over and over and over, and we've seen them for years, over 10 years, 13 years to be exact. The hay crop this year, all around us, is down 50%. 50%. Now, why is that? Well, there are warm season grasses and there are cool season grasses. Well, we skipped over spring. We went from winter, we had spring for a week, and then we hit summer. The cool season grasses that would normally have developed and grown and become hay didn't have a chance to grow. It died because it only was able to grow for a week. So we missed spring. Pretty serious. Very serious. The plants don't know what to do. I have a feeling that this has something to do with why the trees aren't surviving either. They're not used to this, and they can't get up and move. But our hay crop is down. Now, what does that mean, class? Well, to me, the economic view that I have of this is that farmers are going to be looking all over for hay to winter their cows, and they're not going to find it. And farmers are going to sell the herds. There'll be fire sale prices for the short run. Welcome, Truck Driver Jay.
Hey, good morning, Vince and Doc Ram. Actually, I just crossed over into Tennessee, but what we were just talking about with the early summer, the warm weather and the hay, and that fascinates me. How one thing affects another, which affects another, which affects another. Because my wife and I, we have 2 goats now, and she buys the alfalfa, the hay for them, and they eat the hay and produce the milk, and now y'all were talking about
Jay. I've got a question for you. Jay, what does a bale of alfalfa hay cost you? I assume it's a square bale.
Yes, my wife goes to Tractor Supply Company, and I think she said that she gets it for like $4, $5.
$4 to $5 a bale. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. So they're probably about 50 pounds.
Yes.
It's about 50 pounds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So here's what that means. Yeah. Here's what that means, Rick. If it's $5 a bale and it's 50 pounds, there are 20 bales per 1,000 pounds. Typical bale that we make is 1,000 pounds in a round bale. That means that a round bale would be worth about $100. Now, that's three times what it was a couple of years ago in terms of the hay per pound. So what we're seeing already is that the prices of hay are going up. That's what I'm hearing right now from Truck Driver Jay. Now, he's buying it retail, and he's buying a couple bales at a time, so it's a little more expensive, but it's still a lot of money. When I was growing up, those bales were 35 cents, 50 cents a bale. Now we're talking $4 to $5
for feeder hay, and that's what I used to do in the Okanogans. $60 for feeder hay. When
That's
I say
a ton.
$60,
so that would be
ton.
Yeah. Now that would be in my world, that would be 2 round bales at $30, which is what I mentioned. So it was $30. You were paying $30. Now I've heard of prices in dry weather as high as $120 per bale. So it looks that's one of the reasons, Rick, why I bought 2 used junk square balers, because I paid $150 for each baler. $150 for each baler. Not very much. Jay, you had a couple other questions, thoughts, comments?
Yeah. Well, y'all were talking about nuclear plants and nuclear reactors. I bought a book. I got it from Infowars.com. The guy's name is Joel Skousen, and he wrote a book called Strategic Relocation. And
I have the book. I have the book. I have the book.
And,
I have an autographed copy. Joel Skousen is he's one of our instructors, Jay. I didn't know if you knew that or not.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been on the air with us numerous times. Yeah.
Yeah.
The book is called Strategic Relocation.
Yeah, and I just found that to be a wealth of knowledge, and and there was an idea that came to me while driving around. What if one of these terrorists, and I hope I don't give anybody any ideas, but what if somebody were to shoot or just plant a nuclear bomb, a nuclear missile off the coast of, say, California, off the coast of North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, 20 miles off the coast, and detonate that? Wouldn't that cause a really tidal wave?
Okay. When we come back, the question is, would we have a large wave, maybe a tsunami, maybe a tidal wave? Would it wreak havoc on a low-lying coastal lands like Florida, like North Carolina? So truck driver Jay's with us. He's just left Arkansas. He's on the road. And he asked the question, what about a nuclear detonation off one of the coasts in the ocean? Of course, it would kill lots of sea life. I mean, it'd be absolute devastation to the ocean. But the question is, what about the resulting wave? Rick, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm watching Snoopy, the cartoon character Snoopy, where he says, life is not about how fast you can run or how high you can climb, but how well you can bounce.
Okay. So do you think...
In other words, all of these things are going to happen because Pakistan is going to be... There will be some kid that, look what I can do, a hacker, that will cause an ELF spike to occur in our atmosphere. That's like a nuclear weapon going off, except that it doesn't give the damage of a nuclear reaction. What it gives is back to the Stone Age. And we will survive that because there are preppers, there is a network of sustainable lifeboats that are now being developed across the country. But it's going to be a hardship. And the way, again, Cliff High puts it is, by the year 2024, we will say, wow, what did we just go through? Now, that's how it's going to play. And you can count on it like you can count on the sun coming up every morning, even in the haze. It is not about the sun coming up. It's about the fact that the sun is like a comet, and the Earth is spiraling in an elliptical pattern going after the sun. It appears like we're going around it, which we're not. We're actually trying to catch up to it, and we're spiraling around it and going through, during a solar minimum, a bunch of debris, which is causing the Earth to gain mass and expand. This has happened before. It's happening right now, and it's going to lead to a mini ice age. It's not global warming. We've been duped. And purposefully, because, of course, people, if they realized what is about to happen, would panic. Infrastructure would fall apart. oh, wait, it is falling apart.
I've got a question based on that for truck driver Jay. Jay, you travel all over the country in a big rig, and you drive for an independent company. You drive an 18-wheeler. You've been to lots of places. Have you noticed that in these travels, I have several questions for you. In these travels, have you noticed that drivers are becoming less and less friendly, more and more me first, the kind of thing I was talking about in hour number one, where people are distracted, they don't care about anything except themselves, they're zoned out, and they really are immune from understanding the world around them. Are you seeing that too in drivers?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
How about going from point A to point B? Is it taking longer?
It depends. I mean, I'm just a solo driver. My wife used to ride with me, but now she's home and she's got all of her critters to take care of, and so I'm out here all by myself. I can drive, depending on where I'm going from and where to. I can drive up to 800 something miles a day. But
the question is it getting more difficult? Is it getting more difficult?
With road construction right now? Absolutely.
Road construction, other drivers, people cutting you off, people not being prepared, having their vehicles break down in front of you, those kinds of things. Accidents is getting harder to get from one point to the other.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. Based on the question I asked Rick, where is it better to live? Where have you seen places that you absolutely positively would not want to live based on what you have seen, experienced as a truck driver? Where would you not want to live and why?
Eastern New Jersey. It's just so crowded. Just because it is just so crowded. There is just so many people there. And, like that book I was telling you, strategic relocation, just the density of people. Mm-hmm. And you get more people together and they become more impolite.
Right.
New York City, L.A., I would not mind living in the Bayou, in Louisiana, Mississippi. I just crossed over into Mississippi. Mississippi's got some good food. Oh, my goodness.
Your goat should be up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so Eastern New Jersey is no-go. New York City's no-go. L.A. is no-go. Where else are people more hostile, more violent, more aggressive?
Illinois, Indiana, I'd have to say Detroit, and anywhere around Michigan, Chicago, those are just areas I do not like going to. It's very clustered.
All right. Let me ask you another question. I understand that those involved in interstate commerce or common carriers are not allowed to carry guns, pistols, rifles, shotguns. Is that true?
No, it isn't. You can. Back behind my driver's seat that's my home. When I am not at home, that is my home. A DOT police officer, and the nice thing about being a truck driver is you are regulated, and also the legal powers that be, they are also regulated on who can inspect us and who cannot inspect us. The regular police departments and sheriff's departments cannot inspect us. They cannot inspect our logs. They cannot look at the truck. It has to be a Department of Transportation officer, and that's your state police, your highway patrol. Those are the only people that can look at us because they are trained to. If if I'm speeding, I'm going 5-6 miles an hour over the speed limit, a regular police department cannot pull me over. It has to be a DOT official who can pull me over.
Okay, so as far as are you saying that you can have, or a truck driver can have, an over-the-road truck driver can have a loaded weapon in his or her truck in the back in the sleeping compartment because that is their home?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and now I don't know if you remember the riots that happened after the Rodney King verdict.
Yes,
where
I do.
Truck driver
yes.
was. Well, everybody still remembers that. Especially the older truck drivers. They say, "No, we're not going to be victims. We will be able to defend ourselves." Now there are some states like.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
There are some states like New Jersey where you can't cross over. Carry it. In the front of the truck. But if it's safe and it's secure.
All right. Correct me if I'm wrong. During the Rodney King riots, was a truck driver not pulled out of his truck and pummeled?
It was. He was, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in order to protect themselves, truck drivers are now carrying arms. That's great. That's great.
If I haven't said this, I want to say this. I'm honored that you find my part of the radio of usefulness. I'm honored, and thank you for your support.
Thank you, Doc Ram. You and I are going to have to get on the phone together and discuss some stuff because I find your views fascinating.
Rick, what you don't know is Truck Driver Jay has called me here at the farm, and your name has come up off the air. So, all positive stuff. Truck Driver Jay, is it true that there's a truck driver shortage in the United States right now?
Oh, geez. We could... Okay, if the people that are unemployed right now were qualified to be truck drivers, our employment rate would turn to zero, and we would still have not enough people for drivers.
What is the average salary? I'm not asking you your salary, but what do you believe that the average salary for someone who is a professional truck driver, over the road, 18-wheeler, would earn per year as an employee of a company, not an independent, that has his own rig, but someone who drives the rig for the company?
Anywhere between $30,000 and $45,000 a year.
Okay. And what are the negatives? What are the negatives that you see? So if someone were saying, "Hey, I'm going to be a truck driver," would you say, "All right, listen, son, a couple things you need to know." When we come back, would you tell us what they are?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Truck Driver Jay's with us, Doc Ram, and I'm sure Doc Ram's got some questions as well. Insight into what's happening across the highways and byways and where you don't want to go. Like Illinois, Indiana, Detroit, Michigan, Chicago, Eastern New Jersey, New York City. Dr. Richard Allen Mills is with us. Truck Driver Jay is with us. He's in his rig. He's traveling right now. We're broadcasting at probably a little over 55 miles an hour. And Truck Driver Jay, question for you. So a young person says, "Hey, I'm going to be a truck driver," and you put your arm around him and you say, "Son, let me tell you this." What would you be saying to him, Truck Driver Jay?
It isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Now, there is the glory of it. You do get some respect. The money really isn't where you really want it to be. You could probably do a lot better job and make more money being a warehouse worker. However, I see some absolutely beautiful sights. I see the majestic mountains. I get to see western Montana, like that, where Doc Ram is. I get to see the coast. I get to see sunrise and sunset that will just awe-inspire you. But what does it take? And that is a fabulous question. That is a fabulous question. What does it take to be a truck driver? One, you're not home every night. As an over-the-road truck driver, you're not home every night. You're not staying in a hotel or motel every night. You're probably going to spend a little bit of money on food. When I say a little bit, if I'm very careful, I might spend $200 a month, on food and cook it inside the truck. You're not going to be in your home bed every night, and some nights are just going to be very uncomfortable. Some nights are not going to be too bad. You cannot be claustrophobic. The truck is small. You don't have a whole lot of room. You don't have a kitchen in here. You don't have a bathroom in here. I don't have a whole lot of stuff in here. I really wish I could go fishing sometimes, but I can't put a fishing pole in here. I don't have the room for it. You got to be willing to be away from home for extended period of time. The last time I was home was a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. You go where the freight is, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. Doc Ram, I'm sure you've got some questions for Truck Driver Jay.
Accurate. Projection, nice going. Gave me a thumbnail, what it would be like to be on the road.
What are the
characters you get to meet, though? And gun battles. Oh, man.
Jay, go ahead.
Another point is, like taking road trips. You have to like going for long drives. And I talked to numerous people. Oh no, I don't like driving for long distance. The one guy I knew, he said, I was in Omaha, and he had parents who live in Kansas City. He said, I don't like driving to Kansas City to see my parents. If you don't like driving, 2 hours, 2-3 hours, just to go see your parents, you're not going to like driving for 10, 11 hours a day cross country.
What are the most dangerous things that you encounter? Other drivers?
I'll get to that right after the break.
Well, right after the break, we're out of here. So you got 10 seconds. Weather, ice, snow, weather, that's horrible. Truck Driver Jay, thank you so much for calling in. How fast are you going?
I'm doing 70.
70. Thanks so much for being with us at 70 miles an hour. Doc Ram, thanks so much for being with us, sharing your
pleasure.
Wealth of information and insight. See you next week. Class above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you.